Audio 5.1 1. Irene from England.
My clearest childhood memory is definitely the day the Second World War ended. It was May 1945, so I must have been 4 years old. I don't know how it happened so quickly, but my mother and father and I went down to the train station, and hundreds of us went onto the train to London, which was about 100 miles away, a long way on a steam train, and we went straight to Buckingham Palace. The royal family and the Prime Minister Winston Churchill were on the balcony of the palace. They waved, and everyone was cheering and cheering and singing. It was unbelievably noisy and happy. That was my main memory of the day. My father let me sit on his shoulders so I could have a better view. I can also remember that the Queen was wearing a pale blue dress, and I clearly remember feeling very disappointed because Princess Elizabeth, now Queen Elizabeth of course, was wearing an army uniform which was brown, and she didn't look like a princess at all. I have absolutely no recollection of how we got home again.
2. Tobias from Germany.
I'll never forget going horse riding for the first and last time when I was about 10. It was on a school activity holiday. I remember all the other kids were really excited about going horse riding. I pretended to be excited, but actually I was feeling really nervous because I'd never done it before and I was a bit frightened of horses. Anyway, everything was fine while the horse was walking, but when it started to trot, well, suddenly I felt completely out of control. I didn't expect the horse to run so fast. I tried to get it to slow down, but it just kept on running, faster and faster. In my panic, I didn't remember to follow the teacher's instructions. And to make matters worse, my helmet had slipped down and was covering my eyes, so I couldn't see a thing. That's the thing I remember most clearly, not being able to see. Anyway, I didn't dare to take my hands off the reins to push the helmet back up. So instead, I decided to do something very silly. I made myself fall off the horse. So I fell on the ground, and all the other children had to avoid riding over me. I don't remember whether I was injured or not, but my pride was very hurt.
Audio 5.2 1.
My father let me sit on his shoulders.
2.
I remember feeling disappointed because Princess Elizabeth didn't look like a princess.
3.
I tried to get the horse to slow down.
4.
I made myself fall off the horse.
5.
In my panic, I didn't remember to follow the teacher's instructions.
Audio 5.3 Speaker 1.
Listening to my boss, she always gives you far too much information. Goes into too much detail about things you don't need to know. And I'm thinking, for goodness sake, just get to the point, will you?
Speaker 2.
Watching a slow-moving film at the cinema. So many films nowadays are 3 hours long. If you ask me, that's a long time to be sitting in one place, even with a good film. I hate that feeling when you can't sit still and you just want to stretch your legs, and basically you just can't wait for the film to finish.
Speaker 3.
Doing the ironing is for me the most boring and repetitive of all household jobs. It just seems to take forever.
Speaker 4.
For me, it's long-haul flights. My job involves a lot of overseas travel. I can usually amuse myself with films and music for the first few hours, but towards the end of the flight, I'm usually absolutely desperate to get off that plane.
Speaker 5.
Rainy days are the worst for me. I get really fed up with being stuck indoors in my flat. I feel a real need to get out and do something active.
Speaker 6.
There's nothing that's more likely to send me to sleep than a dull lecture. The ones I hate most usually involve a PowerPoint presentation, where the lecturer just reads what's on the slides and doesn't give us an opportunity to discuss or ask questions. I normally find myself losing concentration after about half an hour. My mind starts to wander, I start yawning, and basically, I find it really hard not to fall asleep.
Speaker 7.
For me, the most boring thing in the world is not having enough to keep me occupied at work. You ask your boss, and they give you a simple task that you finish in 5 minutes, and then you're back to doing nothing again. You don't want to be annoying, asking for tasks every 5 minutes, so you just sit there, feeling awkward. It's awful.
Audio 5.4.
In most people, the left side of the brain is dominant for language, especially grammar, writing and spelling. It is dominant for thinking logically, and it is best at hearing the rhythm of music. The left side of the brain controls the right side of your body. The right side of the brain is best at appreciating the melody of music, at understanding jokes and recognizing objects.
Audio 5.5.
Mike, what are we going to do about this vandalism problem here at the factory? It's the second time it's happened this month. First it was graffiti, now broken windows.
I know. It's obviously kids. Bored kids with nothing better to do. I mean, they're clearly not interested in stealing anything. They're just looking for trouble.
Yeah. Well, I've had enough of it now. We need to find a way of dealing with it. One alternative would be to install some security cameras.
Well, that would be the obvious solution, but we need to take cost into consideration. Security cameras are expensive to set up and difficult to maintain. We're just a small business. We don't have that much money to invest. So I don't think that's an option, I'm afraid.
Well, would it be worth putting in some of those fake cameras? You know, the ones that look like security cameras but aren't actually real.
I'm not convinced by those, to be honest. And I don't think the vandals are either. I think a better way forward would be to put in some of those lights, those ones that come on only when they sense movement. Vandals are less likely to commit crimes in well-lit areas.
Yes, I think that would be an effective solution. And not too costly, I don't think. Let's do that. I'll look into it.
Do you think there would be any point in changing the lock on the gate?
No, the gate lock hasn't been broken. They've obviously climbed over the wall.
In that case, what if we also paint the walls with anti-climb paint, just as an extra precaution?
Yes, there's no harm in doing that as well. It shouldn't be too expensive.
OK. So lights and anti-climb paint then. That should sort the problem out.
Audio 5.6. 1,
One alternative would be to install some security cameras.
2,
We need to take cost into consideration.
3,
I don't think that's an option.
4,
Would it be worth putting in some of those fake cameras?
5,
I think a better way forward would be to put in some of those lights.
6,
That would be an effective solution.
7,
Do you think there would be any point in changing the lock?
8,
What if we also paint the walls with anti-climb paint?
9,
There's no harm in doing that.
Audio 5.7. 1,
One alternative would be to
2,
We need to take cost into consideration.
3,
I don't think that's an option.
4,
Would it be worth?
5,
I think a better way forward would be to...
6,
that would be an effective solution.
7,
Do you think there would be any point in...
8,
What if we...
9,
There's no harm in.
Audio 5.8. 1,
Zoning out is something you do when you're very excited.
2,
If you're still, it means you don't move.
3,
Yawning is a gesture you make to show your approval.
4,
If something is described as dull, it means it isn't interesting.
5,
If you're fed up, it means you've had enough to eat.
6,
If your mind wanders, it means you have stopped paying attention.
7,
If you are trapped, it means you can't escape.